Can Taylor Swift be arrested? Trump has launched a secret investigation into a shocking electoral manipulation scheme. The biggest star in world music may be involved in a clandestine plan to change the result of the 2024 elections. What don't they want you to know? The truth is about to be revealed. Watch until the end and find out everything. In recent years, Taylor Swift is no longer just a music star to becoming one of the most influential voices in pop culture and American politics. Her declared support to Democratic candidates, criticism of former President Donald Trump, and her engagement on progressive guidelines made her a key piece in the U.S. election scenario. However, this same influence may have placed the singer at the center of one of today's most shocking theories, a supposed secret electoral manipulation scheme. Trump's allies recently began raising questions about the real impact of the singer on the U.S. elections. The accusation? Swift was being used as a strategic tool for manipulating votes and influences public opinion in favor of Democrats. This alleged plan aimed to strengthen the country's young and progressive base, ensuring an advantage for Joe Biden in the 2024 presidential elections. Trump himself, according to some sources, would be encouraging investigations into power that celebrities like Taylor Swift exercise in the elections. For its supporters, it is a real threat to democracy, as public figures with millions of followers could be intentionally or not disproportionately influencing voters. On the other hand, the singer's advocates argue that she only exerts her freedom of expression like any other American citizen. The big question that is imposed is, how far is the impact of pop culture on politics? And more than that, would a celebrity be responsible for changing the balance of power in an entire nation? These questions are just the beginning of a plot that involves politics, media, technology, and possibly one of the biggest names in 21st century music industry. Taylor Swift is not only one of the greatest singers in the world, but also a powerful figure in the political scene. Its impact goes far beyond music, reaching millions of people through their social networks, public statements, and even their own lyrics. But what makes Swift such a threat to Donald Trump and his allies? The answer may be in its impressive ability to mobilize masses and shape opinions. In recent years, Taylor has made clear his political position, something that has avoided much of his initial career. In 2018, it broke the silence by declaring support for Democratic candidate Phil Bredesen at Tennessee, and since then, his participation in politics has only increased. During the 2020 presidential elections, she used her platform to encourage millions of fans to vote, a movement that some analysts consider Joe Biden's victory over Trump. Taylor Swift's power goes beyond her voice. She built a legion of loyal followers, known as swifties. This group, made up of millions of fans around the world, is highly engaged and ready to defend its idol of any attack. But what makes this base even more intriguing is your organization on social networks. Whether on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, Swift fans can spread political messages quickly, amplifying their impact almost instantaneously. Some experts believe this influence is not only spontaneous, but strategically used by Democrats. There are theories suggesting that parties' political campaigns would be actively collaborating with media figures such as Taylor Swift to ensure massive and directed range. The idea that a celebrity could be helping to influence the elections is not new, but in the case of Swift, the scale of your fan base puts it in a unique position. His supporters, on the other hand, claim that Taylor Swift is just exercising his right as an American citizen. For them, their political influence is no different from other artists who, throughout history, have used their fame to defend social causes. The great dilemma, however, remains. To what extent can this influence be considered legitimate, and where does it become a form of electoral manipulation? In the United States, political battle is often confused with cultural war, and few clashes illustrate this as well as the growing rivalry between Donald Trump and Taylor Swift. On the one hand, a former president who represents the conservative wing and fights for the return to power. On the other, one of the largest stars of world music, which has become a progressive symbol and one of the main faces of Trump resistance. But this dispute goes far beyond mere ideological differences. It is a conflict for the control of the country's political narrative. Trump and his allies have shown increasing concern with Swift's influence, which has the ability to mobilize millions of young voters. For their Republican campaign, this represents a considerable obstacle, as Trump's electoral base is largely concentrated on older and conservative groups. The fear of the former president is that Taylor Swift is being used as a key piece in a strategy to ensure that Democrats continue to power. Behind the scenes, the tension between the two sides only increases. Trump supporters began to spread theories that Swift not only promotes their own political ideals, but could be involved in a project coordinated with Democratic Party elites. Some even suggest that it has been selected for this role by larger forces as part of a broader plan to control political discourse in the United States. Swift's base response was not long to arrive. Her fans quickly deny these accusations, arguing that the singer is simply using her voice to express her opinions. However, theories continue to gain strength among conservative circles, driven by commentators and right-wing media figures. Swift herself, so far, has avoided responding directly to these allegations, but her presence in politics seems increasingly inevitable. The clash between Trump and Taylor Swift symbolizes a greater fight that takes place in the United States, the dispute for the country's cultural and ideological future. On the one hand, a generation that values diversity, inclusion, and social changes. On the other hand, one base that wants to preserve more traditional values and fears the growing influence of great celebrities and big techs on the political scene. The question is, to what extent can this cultural war impact the result of the elections? And could this growing rivalry lead to more drastic measures against Taylor Swift? As Taylor Swift's political influence grows, theories and investigations around the United States electoral scenario also increase. According to Donald Trump's allies, there is evidence that the singer would be involved in a secret electoral manipulation scheme, an accusation that, if confirmed, could have serious legal consequences. But what exactly is being investigated? Sources close to the former president suggest that a secret dossier about Swift was being compiled by members of the conservative circle, including political strategists and independent investigators. This supposed report would seek evidence that the singer's influence on young voters is not only spontaneous, but part of a plan coordinated with the Democratic Party. The theory suggests that Taylor Swift would be directed by political elites and big techs to tilt the electorate in favor of Joe Biden in the 2024 elections. Among the main allegations of this investigation are strategic use of social networks. Analyses indicate that Taylor Swift posts on politics tend to receive significant amplification on platforms such as Instagram and TikTok, raising suspicions about algorithms favoring their narrative. Connection with Democratic campaigns. Some argue that their public statements about elections and candidates follow a convenient standard for the interests of the Democratic Party. Fan mobilization as a political weapon. Swifties have already shown incredible power by organizing boycott, online campaigns, and attacks on public figures. The idea that this group could be being coordinated to directly interfere with the electoral process has been one of the main concerns of Trump's team. The big question now is, can this massive influence be considered illegal? In the United States, electoral laws are strict when it comes to manipulation and interference. But so far, there are no precedents of a celebrity being investigated for simply expressing support for a candidate. However, if it is proved that there is a direct involvement of the singer in an orchestrated electoral manipulation plan, she could face serious accusations, including illegal interference in the democratic process. On the other hand, law experts argue that allegations against Taylor Swift are unfounded and politically motivated. According to them, the attempt to criminalize the influence of an artist is a strategy to divert the focus of the real problems of Trump's campaign. What is not yet clear is whether this investigation will gain enough strength to result in an official action against Swift, or if it is all a tactic to undermine its credibility before the elections. Meanwhile, the pressure on the singer increases, and many wonders if she will continue to position or adopt a more neutral posture in the face of controversy. As the controversy surrounding Taylor Swift and his political influence grows, a new element enters the equation: the supposed involvement of large media corporations and big techs in this possible electoral manipulation scheme. For Donald Trump's allies, it is not just a singer expressing political opinions, but a massive operation involving digital platforms, communication networks, and even companies that control global entertainment. The theory raised by conservatives is that Swift does not act alone. According to this view, their political statements, social networking posts, and even their traditional media coverage would be strategically amplified to influence the public. This would raise a series of questions about the neutrality of technology companies and the press in the electoral race. First, social networks favoring Swift. Studies indicate that Taylor Swift's political posts often receive significant organic drive on platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, X. Some conservatives believe these companies deliberately amplify their content through programmed algorithms to favor progressive agendas while reducing the reach of conservative figures. In addition, there are allegations that Swift posts encouraging young vote would have been artificially promoted within these networks. The fear of Republicans is that this strategy can create an imbalance in the electoral game, favoring one side of the dispute and censoring the other. 2. The involvement of traditional media. Newspapers, TV channels, and news portals are also accused of building a favorable narrative to the singer and ignoring any criticism of her political involvement. During the last elections, vehicles such as the New York Times, CNN, and Washington Post praised Swift's activism, while conservative figures who criticized their posture were in many cases ridiculed or discredited. For Trump allies, this disparity in media treatment shows that there is a coordinated effort to use Swift's popularity as a political tool. Some even compare the situation with strategies already used by governments and corporations to shape public opinion, influencing voters without realizing that they are being directed. 3. Taylor Swift. Celebrity or handling tool? The singer's critics say that her influence on elections goes beyond freedom of expression. They suggest that their engagement could configure indirect interference in the democratic process, especially if it is proven that there are secret collaborations between your team and political entities. On the other hand, their defenders counter, saying that these allegations are part of an attempt to silence progressive public figures, while conservative celebrities such as Kanye West and Kid Rock are free to position themselves politically without suffering this kind of scrutiny. The debate continues, but one thing is certain: the impact of pop culture on politics has never been so strong, and the role of big techs and the media in this dispute is increasingly at the center of the discussion. The controversy around Taylor Swift and his supposed influence on American politics does not seem to be close to the end. On the contrary, the discussion intensifies as the 2024 presidential elections approach. The impact of pop culture on politics has never been so evident, and Swift, voluntarily or not, has become a central piece in this power game. For Donald Trump and his allies, the singer represents more than an engaged artist. She is seen as a symbol of a larger movement, supposedly manipulated by progressive elites and driven by large media and technology corporations. The idea that a celebrity can influence millions of votes, aided by carefully planned algorithms and strategies, raises questions about transparency and justice of the electoral process. However, on the other side of the equation, Swift supporters argue that it is all a desperate attempt to silence a powerful feminine voice. For them, the singer only exercises her constitutional right to freedom of expression and has become the target of attacks for having the courage to publicly position herself against conservative figures. In addition, they point out that Trump and other Republican politicians have already had the support of several celebrities in the past. Without questions about electoral manipulation, what can happen now? The big question that hangs in the air is, can Taylor Swift really face legal consequences for his political influence? So far, there is no concrete evidence that the singer has violated any law. However, if the investigation promoted by Trump allies move forward and gain traction in Congress or in courts, Swift could face unprecedented pressure to limit his participation in the political scenario. Moreover, this cultural war is not only affecting the singer, but also raises a greater debate. What is the role of celebrities in the electoral process? If Taylor Swift is considered a threat to the integrity of the elections, the same argument can be used against any other artist, influencer, or public figure who decides to manifest politically. On the other hand, if this accusation does not advance, Trump and his allies can use the narrative of a system against conservatives to mobilize his base, reinforcing the speech that there is an ideological war being fought behind the scenes of American politics. Taylor Swift's future and its influence on 2024 elections remain uncertain. But one thing is clear: the battle between politics and pop culture has never been so intense, and the coming months can reveal new twists in this shocking story.